So in section 3.2, we're going to talk about different ways to find the center of a data set. We're going to talk about the mean, the median, and the mode. So on the next page, we're going to use this data about the number of vehicles passing through a bank drive-up line during a 15-minute period. So first we need to talk about some symbols. So these are symbols that you'll see throughout the course. So the first one, the symbol represents the members of a sample or a population. So these are really going to be our data values. So whenever you see an X in a formula, that means that's where you're putting your data values. Now the number of members in a sample, so how many you have in your sample, that's a little n. Okay, so for example, our data set above, if we count, we have 20 different data points. So above, that would be 20. Our n would be 20. So if we're talking about an entire population, how many there are, we use a big N. Now, often in statistics, we'll want to add something up, or even in other branches of math. And when we want to add something up, we use what's called the summation symbol. And it's actually a capital Greek sigma. Okay, and that's a capital sigma. So that if you see that symbol, it means add everything after it up. Okay, the average of a sample, the mean, we use an X with a bar over it. So we call this X bar. And the mean of an entire population, so the mean of everyone, we use a Greek, it looks kind of like a fancy M. This is called Greek mu. Okay. So let's talk about the formulas for mean. And we'll be able to do this on our calculator, but it's also not difficult to do by hand. If you want to do the mean, to write it out, we say add up all the X values. So remember, the sigma means add it up and divide by the number in your sample. Okay, so in words, this means add up all the values, divide by how many values you have. Okay, now for the population, it's very similar except how many values we have. We use a capital N instead of a lowercase n. So the idea is exactly the same. You add up all the values and divide by how many you have. Now you can also do this on your calculator by putting the values into L1. So to get to L1, you hit stat and then you hit enter for edit. And you'll put all the values in there. And then you'll hit stat again, arrow over to the calc, and choose one variable, stats. And there's a video on this in Moodle going through this example. So we also need to talk about how we round. So the rounding rule is we always round the mean to one more decimal place than our data has. So for example, if your data has no decimal places, like in our example on the first page, we would round to one decimal place. If we were given one decimal place, for example, if we had data values like 23.4 or whatever, then we would round to 2 decimal places. Okay, so to find the mean from the beginning of the section, we would add up those 20 numbers and we would divide by 20. Now you can also do this, like I said, by putting them into L1. And when we do this, we get 20. So since there were 0 decimal places on those values, we're going to round to 1 decimal place. So for these, we get that the mean is equal to 29.9. Okay, so that's all there is to finding the mean. Now to find the median, okay, the median is the middle value, the exact middle value of the data set. So to find this, the first thing we're going to do is arrange the values in numerical order, if you want to do it by hand. The calculator will also do this for us. Okay, so once they're in order, so if you have an odd number of values, so if n is odd, then you take the middle value. So for example, if you had 9 data values, you've lined them all up, you would take the 5th one, because then there would be 4 before it and 4 after it. It would be the middle value. Okay, now if n is even, okay, then you don't have an exact middle value. You take the average, the mean of the middle 2 values. So you would add them up and divide by 2. So for example, if you have 10 data values that's even, you would take the 5th and the 6th one, add them up, and divide by 2. Okay? Now, just like we found the mean, you can find the median on the calculator. So if you put all the data values in, you only have to do this once. So if you're finding the mean and the median at the same time, it's one step. You put them in L1, you go stat over to calc, and one variable stats. Okay, so the mean for the data set at the beginning we look at is 30. Now just notice there's no symbol or rounding rule for the median. Okay, and one last kind of way of average is the mode. And the mode is the data value or values, if there's more than one of them, that occur the most. So the most often. Now, unfortunately, there's no way to calculator. You just have to look through the data set. And if we look through the data set at the beginning, and this might be, if you're having a hard time with it, I would recommend writing them all out in order. And it's a little easier to see, but from the beginning, if you look at it, the mode is equal to 30 because 30 occurs the most times.